Do you know what happens when a mine is built in your community? This is a story of Nanambong village. In the past, life was good. We were a farming community that grew rice in the wet season and crops like soybeans and cassava in the dry season. We grew enough to feed ourselves. We foraged fish and crabs from the river and used its clean water. The forest that we've been using for hundreds of years was vibrant with life, and we used its wood and harvested vegetables and fruit to eat. We had everything that we needed. The people in the village were happy, and the community was united. But then, the Tumkum Limited Mining Company came to town in order to dig up the gold deep in our mountain. The government approved TKL's license to operate in the Kowloon sub-district, and in exchange, the mining company pays the government a share of its profits every year. The first mining site is on Pusan Pabon Mountain, which is only 1 kilometer away from our village. TKL promised they'd build schools, a road, a hospital, and temples for our community. They said that the mine would bring new jobs for us. According to the company, the mine would only bring good things to our community. The company began construction by destroying the forest. We lost the trees, edible plants, and wildlife that we had relied on for years. They built roads so trucks and construction equipment could get up onto the mountain, and then used dynamite to blow off the top of the mountain to get to the gold underneath. Explosions went off up to 3 times a day, making rock and dust fly into the air. Fly rock crashed down near our houses and in our fields. The noises woke us up at night and gave us nightmares. We were scared that the rocks would hit us. Sometimes they would warn us of an explosion with a loud siren, but eventually they stopped doing that. They just raised a red flag when they were planning on blowing up more of the mountain. Some people began to fear that the mine was destroying our way of life, while others were still excited about the opportunities that it promised to bring. Soon after the mine's construction, we began to notice changes in the environment. The river water turned a rust color that it never had in the past. The animals in the river began to die off, and we can no longer harvest them for food. Many people developed skin rashes after bathing. We could no longer drink water from the local wells, so had to buy it from far away. Farmers' rice yields went down because they were using that bad water, so we could no longer eat what we grew because we feared our food was poisoned with the chemicals from the mine. Now we have to rely on products brought from elsewhere. The provincial health office came in to test our blood and discovered that many of us have high levels of the toxic chemical cyanide, the same chemical used in the mining process. During the mining process, the company uses cyanide to separate the gold from the rest of the mountain rock. TKL then stores this toxic cyanide waste in man-made tailings ponds on the mountainside. Already this tailings pond full of cyanide has broken twice, leaking this toxic waste into our water and earth. Many people have left their jobs at the mine because they fear for their health. TKL built roads because it helps their business, but they never built the schools or hospitals that it promised. Very little of the royalty payment is accessible to villagers, with the bulk of the profit being kept for the company. TKL pays a progressive tax, around 10% of their profit, to the government. Only 20% of this small fraction goes to the local TAO, which is then divided among all the villages in the district, leaving each village with very little. Because of the mine's controversy, divisions grew between villagers who opposed the mine and those who didn't. Families were divided by arguments over whether to support the mine or not. And so TKL's mining operations have caused our village to suffer. The mine is destroying the traditional way of life that has sustained us for many generations. To protest this destruction, many of us are fighting back. It started when 4 villagers formed a group called People Who Love Their Hometown. They formed the group in order to protect our village and to prevent the mining company from destroying other communities. Not long after, many villagers from Nanambong and the 6 surrounding villages joined the group. The People Who Love Their Hometown work to protest mining operations, educate people about the impacts of the mine, and demand their way of life back. Because the mining company wants to expand their operations, they have to hold a public scoping so villagers have the chance to voice their opinions and ask any questions they have about the mine. We tried to go to TKL's public scoping to show our opposition, but the company kept us out with police barricades and company trucks. We've even taken our case to the National Human Rights Commission because we do not believe this was a fair public process, but meaningful changes have yet to be made. TKL has already taken all of the gold out of our mountain. We do not want what happened to us to happen to other communities. Even though TKL is mainly focused on mining in the Loei area, there are 5 other areas in Thailand that are already identified as having gold mining potential: regions of Chiang Rai, Sukhothai, Phetchabun, Rayong, and Chumpon. TKL already plans to expand to another mountain in Loei, a mountain that is just like ours, that is right above the houses and the farmlands of the other villagers. We want our story to be heard so this sort of destruction never happens again. The mining company does not respect our way of life and only cares about its own profit. We are afraid that the mine will force us to leave our village, and we don't want the same thing to happen to others. But what if you could prevent this from happening in your own community? The mining company promises development and wealth, but how much is our mountain, our river, our forest, our livelihood truly worth? Is the gold mine worth the destruction of our way of life? Is it worth yours?